Hello, this is AstrologerCoach Sonja Francis, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming new moon in 19 degrees of Aquarius, which will be exact on February 8th at 9:39 a.m. East Coast time in the US, which is also New York time, or 6:39 a.m. West Coast time in the US, which is also LA time. So, the new moon, of course, is always a new beginning of a new moon cycle. So it's a great time to go within, to plant seeds, anything that you'd like to accomplish for the next 28 days. We just kind of like get quiet. We think about what is it that is in alignment with this new moon energy. So we will also talk about the best and most potent time to set new moon intentions towards the end of this video. So stay tuned. But first, we'll talk a little bit about the Aquarian energy and what this new moon is about. So with the new moon in freedom, loving, and forward-thinking Aquarius, of course, we have our eye on the future. We see a very clear vision of our life and are ready to make huge improvements. It's all about, moving forward, progress, and we really strive for equality, for collaboration, it's definitely a time where we want to ask ourselves, where am I called to make a difference in my life, or in the world at large, even, right? And the energy of the Aquarian moon is definitely connected to our visionary humanitarian side and our ability to be an agent of change, so that we can really create a better future for everyone on this planet. So Aquarius really deals with the power of ideals. It's an intellectual energy. It's a visionary energy. So it's about the ideal of what is possible, ideally speaking, for humanity, for this planet, for this world. And it also is connected to technology and inventions for that reasons, because technology can really create a lot of progress, and inventions can too, right? So we're really interested also with the Aquarian energy in the collective, because that means that everyone, is involved, and we're really interested in changing group consciousness, making the world a better place, right? So some questions to bring that can bring that into focus for you is you could ask yourself, what could I, as an individual, do for humanity, and how could group consciousness help humanity's progress? Right? So these are questions you can kind of sit with for the next 28 days. Again, with all my questions in my videos, you don't have to answer them right away. You can just sit with them, be with them, keep coming back to them, and just see what shows up for you, or what shows up around you as you keep asking these questions, right? Feel free to also write them down, and then also that might be helpful also when you set your intentions for the new moon as well, right? Now, each one of us, of course, has a special gift, has a unique spark inside of you. So with the Aquarian energy, we're really getting to access this uniqueness, this inner genius, and we can share it with the world. So we're really capable of quantum leaps of insight, and we're really capable of remarkable collaborations with other people. So some other questions, again, that you can ask yourself: how does my inner genius communicate? How does my unique spark show up in the world or inside of me? How can you tap into that? And where does it want to communicate? Where does it want to share, reach out, connect, right? So check in with yourself about that. Now, there are some very powerful aspects with this new moon that I want to talk about as well. One of them is Mars in Scorpio is squaring the new moon and is also making a trine to Chiron in Pisces. So what does that mean? So this really invites us to stretch ourselves for the duration of the lunar cycle and to kind of grow beyond what we know ourselves to be. So it's really also about healing some wounding from the past, and we're getting some support with that. We get a lot of opportunities and support with the healing process, but we definitely also being invited to stretch ourselves and to find creative ways of making that work. So in order for us to really clearly see the future, like Aquarius wants us to, we must first address what lurks in the shadows. So basically we have to connect to the unconscious, to everything that we've suppressed in the past, everything that we feared, everything that we've denied or ignored, or things that we felt shameful about. We have to address these issues first. We have to do that inner work. And so basically, the inner work does continue, we've been doing a lot of inner work already this past year, but we still have we still have a lot going on, and there's still a lot we have to do, not just on an individual level, but also on a collective level. And each one of us doing that work will support the progress on a collective level. So here's some questions that you can ask yourself for the next 28 days. What are my true motivations? So when you think about the future, when you think about what it is that you want to change or the progress that you want to make, what are your true motivations? Where are these motivations coming from? And if fears were driving me, what might they be? So check in with yourself if you have any fears that are connected to what it is that you want to create or what it is that you want to do in the future, because that's important to recognize. And ask yourself, what might shift if I faced those fears, acknowledged them, brought them out into the open? What can happen? What can shift if I can do that with my fears? And what if I allowed myself to surrender to my higher power or to my passionately pumping, open, and fearless heart? And that question, I think, is really great because, Scorpio, Mars in Scorpio, right? It's about surrendering to something greater than yourself. Mars is our personal will, but Scorpio always wants to encourage us that there is a higher meaning to things, that there is something bigger than yourself. And if you can connect to that, you can be really passionate. You can get so passionate about life. That can so strengthen your inner self. It can strengthen your heart. It can strengthen who you are. And to really connect to that place in you that feels passionate, that is open, that is fearless, because there's something greater than you that you're striving for, right? That's Mars in Scorpio. Now, there's some other aspects as well that are worth talking about. Uranus, which is the ruler of Aquarius, so it's the ruler of the new moon. Right now it is in Aries, and it's making several aspects to other planets in the new moon chart. It squares Pluto, Venus, and Mercury in Capricorn. They are currently connected together, those three planets in Capricorn, so Uranus is squaring them, which is sort of like a stretching aspect where we have to, stretch ourselves a little bit and redefine certain things for ourselves. It also inconjuncts Mars in Scorpio, which again, there needs to be an adjustment, an inner adjustment that we need to make. And it trines Saturn in Sagittarius. So that's more of a supportive aspect. So what does all of this really mean? So these aspects are asking of us to redefine our personal and collective freedom. So what does freedom mean for us personally? What does it mean on a collective level? How can we achieve a global consciousness that's based on freedom, based on equality, based on mutual benefits? And in order for us to really achieve that, we have to look at our shadow issues, all the stuff that we have suppressed, denied, fears that we have tried to ignore. We have to address all this on an individual level, on a social level, and on a collective level. So this is really, some deep stuff, that we're needing to deal with in order for us to really make that progress and to really follow our vision that we want. But again, we get a lot of support. We do get lots of opportunities as well to be able to do all this in the next 28 days. For example, Saturn is really helping this by supporting a more serious look at our belief systems, leading to an admission of where we are right now, our now path. We're getting to take a look at that and how that is maybe not so much in alignment anymore with some things from the past, with some beliefs from the past, things that we have called truths and have said, in the past that this happened and this happened again and this happened again, and so that therefore it must be true. So now we're getting to take a look at that again and more seriously and go, well, is it really true? Or is this just something that I've made to be true because there was an occurrence that happened more than once, right? So being more present to what actually is rather than to what was is very important. So adjustments are definitely required if we want to create a better future for all of us. And so some questions that you can ask yourself with these aspects: what alternative ways might lead to our goals? And do we have the courage to face and embrace our dark sides, the stuff that we've suppressed, that we've denied? And what might be possible if we forgave ourselves for all past mistakes, right? Also, what might happen if we forgave ourselves for any limitations we may have right now, right? Or any limitations that we may feel that we have. Because each one of us, we have stuff in the past that we're not proud of, that we regret. We have limitations that we still have in the now, because of something that might have happened in the past, traumas, or experiences that we've had. So we need to be honest about this. We need to talk about it. We need to acknowledge it, and we need to forgive ourselves individually, socially, collectively. And another question you can ask yourself: how about fears and phobias, that you still carry around, whether that's from a past life or from this lifetime? How can you forgive yourself for that? How can you embrace that? How can you, through the embrace of it, let it go and let it be, right? Now, again, sit with these questions. You don't have to necessarily answer them or do anything about them, but just be with it and see what shows up for you. See what you discover, because it's a great way. Questions are also a great way to let some of the unconscious stuff bubble up more into our consciousness and become more aware what is really underneath the surface, So now is really the time, for us to really take a look at our motivations as well, with Mars in Scorpio especially, and to see if they're coming from a fearful place, or from a place of attachment, from a place of protection, wanting to protect ourselves. And usually, attachments and wanting to protect ourselves, that happens because we're fearful or we're scared. So take a look at where your motivations are coming from, and just notice if that gets you what you want. If these motivations are coming from a fearful place, notice if it's actually getting you further or closer to what you actually want. And so we're really being asked also here with this, Mars in Scorpio, to let go of our fearful past conditioning, our scarcity mentality, and instead to really allow ourselves to be immersed in a vision that calls us to live into the highest version of ourselves. So by really allowing ourselves to go there, to go to these places, to some of these dark places, and embracing them and letting them go, we're really getting a chance to immerse ourselves more fully into this higher version of ourselves. So what's holding you back? Ask yourself, what's holding you back from really getting to that place? And could honest conversations with yourself and others help you face and embrace your fears and letting go of past hurts? And that is really important, really having some honest conversations about this, because when we're not being honest with ourselves, it's very difficult to embrace anything and to let go of anything, right? Now, our individual capacity to affect change is so far greater than what we realize. And when we team up with like-minded people who care deeply about creating a better future for this planet and its life forms, we can really create some tremendous change in the world. So really, tune into how much you personally have to give that can create change, and then connect with other people who can support you, and where you can support each other in really creating that change that you want to make, right? And remember that change the change that you're seeking to make can only be as good as the intention that goes with that. So if your intention is love and abundance and a better future for everybody involved, then that's what can happen. If the intention is fear, protecting, and keeping things the same, out of out of fear, basically, then we can't really create a more abundant and more wonderful future for everybody concerned, right? So we have to do our best for each one of us on an individual level to really tap into that and connect with people who are able to do that as well, right? So aim for wholeness, aim for forgiveness, and aim for a courageously open heart. This is really important. And Mars in Scorpio can get us there, can get us to really have a courageously open heart. Your light will shine all the brighter when all of you is visible and authentic. Just remember that, and this is true for everyone, each one of us. When we can show all of ourselves and we can be authentic, we can be so much more powerful and so much more bright in the world. So just to sum it all up for this new moon, it reminds us that to be fully alive, we must stretch and grow, and to grow, we must change. And so you want to ask yourself, what would it take for me to boldly follow my dreams, and who could I connect with to do that, right? So if you have an ascendant or any personal planets in your birth chart in 17 to 21 degrees of Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, or Scorpio, then this new moon is certainly going to affect you a lot more than other people. However, even if you don't have personal planets in those degrees and signs, take a look at where in your birth chart the 19 degrees of Aquarius lands, and then take a look, like that area of life, that house placement will give you an idea of where it is that you need to focus for progress, for a better future for yourself and for others. Okay, so if you don't understand what I was just talking about with the birth chart, feel free to watch my video on how to read your birth chart. You can email us at info@astrologercoach.com, and we will send you a link to that recording. Just write recording in the subject line, and we'll email you the link and also some handouts for that. And that will be helpful also in understanding the weekly forecast, as well as my videos a little bit better, right? Now, I mentioned in my last video, in the full moon, I think it was the full moon in Leo, I mentioned that I'm planning on creating a monthly conference call or like a webinar type deal, in which I'll talk a little bit more about the upcoming energies for the month, astrologically speaking, where we can have more of an interactive engagement with each other. And I've set a date for that first webinar. So save that date, put it in your calendar. It will be on Monday, February 22nd at 7 p.m. East Coast time in New York, in the US, which is also New York time, or 4 p.m. West Coast time, which is Pacific time, or LA time. If you do live in Europe and it will be too late for you to watch, unless you're a night owl and you can, watch our webinar at midnight or at 1 o'clock in the morning. You can watch the webinars also as a recording. So each of the webinars will be recorded, and if you don't have time to be live on the call or on the webinar, you can still listen to it as a recording as well. So that's available. These monthly webinars are just for everyone who want to align themselves with what's coming up. It's going to be more interactive. You can ask questions. So it's going to be a little bit different from the videos that I record bi-monthly. And this will be for all levels of astrology. So if you're a beginner, intermediate, advanced, if you're pro in astrology, everyone's welcome, because, you know, we can all have, you know, chime in and talk about the energies together. And I will, of course, be sort of leading the conversation a little bit as well. All right, so I will send out more details about this webinar in one of my newsletters as we're getting closer to it. So watch out for that. And if you're not currently receiving my newsletter, feel free to sign up for it. Just send an email to info@astrologercoach.com and just write newsletter in the subject line. You can also receive my weekly forecasts via email. And there you just have to write weekly forecast in the subject line, or you can receive both of them. You can write both in the subject line, and then we'll just put you into the appropriate mailing lists. The weekly forecasts go out once a week on Sunday evening, and the newsletter goes out twice a month. All right. So now we want to talk a little bit about intention settings, right? What I mentioned in the beginning of the video. So let's talk about this for this moon cycle. Intentions are best done soon after the new moon becomes exact, and definitely not during a moon void of course phase. So this month, we really want to pay attention, because there is an 18-hour moon void of course that starts right at the time of the new moon, when the new moon becomes exact. So the best and most potent time to set intentions with this new moon cycle and to plant seeds for the next 28 days is anytime between 3:31 a.m. on February 9th and 9:39 a.m. on February 10th. This is both New York time, East Coast time in the US. If you live in a different time zone, I invite you to plug these times into a time zone converter, which you can Google on the internet and find. If you don't want to do that, that's fine too. Then just join me on my Facebook fan page or on my Twitter page. That's either astrologercoach.sonjafrancis for Facebook, or Twitter is Sonja Francis. And I will be posting right at the most potent time. I will be posting, you know, set your intentions now, and then you can just write them down as I'm posting that on Twitter or on Facebook. Okay. Now, you want to set your intentions always in the now time, and you always want to set your intentions in relationship to what I talk about in the new moon video. As best as you can. So I invite you to just kind of maybe listen to the video again as you're setting your intentions, or write down some of the questions that I write down, that I mentioned in the video, and use these questions to get inspired to write down your intentions for this new moon. And make them plausible to yourself. You know, whatever you write down for the new moon intentions, make sure you believe what you're writing down. Make sure that it feels attainable to you as well. All right. Now, one last thing I want to mention is, because there will be a moon void, of course, for 18 hours after the new moon, I want to invite all of us to just use that time creatively to visualize a future that makes room for the best of all that is available to us, to be accessible to all living beings, to the whole world, to this planet, to all beings. You can do that either via meditating, just visualizing. You can do something creative, like you can create a dance to it, or you can create a painting or a drawing, or you can make jewelry that represents that. Whatever it is that you want to do, the moon void, of course, is a beautifully creative time where we can tap into our inner feminine energies and really connect with that vision for the future. So I want to just invite everybody to do that, because I think it will be very powerful if all of us do that at least some of the time. You don't have to do it for the whole 18 hours, but at least some of the time after the new moon. And I also wanted to mention that I'm still offering a New Year's reading for the next 3 weeks. So that lasts until the end of February. So if you want to take advantage of that, go to my website right now at astrologercoach.com and click on the link next to New Year's Special. And that will take you to the page where you can purchase the reading. And there's also on that page at the very bottom, there's an online form that you can fill out so we can schedule our session together. It will make it a lot easier and faster. So that's it for this new moon. If you have any personal questions about the new moon, I'm happy to answer those via reading. If you have any general questions, feel free to reach out to me at Sonja at AstrologerCoach.com. That's SONJA at AstrologerCoach.com. And I'd be happy to answer those general questions. Personal questions usually require of me to pull up your birth chart. And so just to honor my time and to make sure that I can answer your questions fully and completely, I will ask you to go to my website at AstrologerCoach.com and just go to my services page and just pick one of my readings. There are many readings available, anywhere from 25 minutes to 2 hours. And so depending on your budget and depending on your time that you have available, feel free to choose whatever works best for you. All right? So have a great one. Have a great new moon. Remember, it's an introverted time. It's a time where we want to really tap into what feels right to us in terms of our vision for the future, for ourselves and for other people. All right. Have a good one. This is Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis. Goodbye.